What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Big Dog Brett. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. Today we're going to be talking about the week 5 of college football. Can you guys believe it's week 5 already? Where has the time gone? Hate to think that in just a week, football season, or at least the regular season, will be halfway over. So it always seems like this time of year goes by way too fast. So, but today we're going to be talking about the week 5 games. What my thoughts are, matchups, who I think you're going to pick. And there's some interesting games this weekend, and we're going to get into it right after this. All right, guys, so there's quite a bit here. Looking at this lineup schedule, had some games last night. BYU, Utah State, South Carolina at South Carolina. And South Carolina somehow scored 50 points on South Carolina State. I didn't know their offense had them in them. Even though they scored 50 points, Spencer Rattler still only put up 212 yards in passing. So once I saw that score, I was kind of hoping that young man would have put up 300 or 400 yards to kind of quell some of the noise that's been brought his way. So, excuse me, but unfortunately, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to recover. So, looking at the Friday games, we do have some Friday games today, late in the evening, around 7:00. You got Houston and Tulane, Middle Tennessee. It's Boise State versus San Diego State. And Washington versus UCLA. The only game I think that might be worth watching would be the Washington versus UCLA game. Washington should run away with this game, but it's at 10:30. It's a West Coast game. I'm not going to be able to stay up that late and go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning watching a football game. There's other things I want to do, like get ready for Saturday. So Saturday, probably maybe better than week 1. Some of the best games of the season so far, in my opinion. You've got Michigan at Iowa. Michigan has looked extremely dominant. Iowa has showed a really strong defense, but their offense has sputtered. I'd like to see what Michigan can do against that defense. That game's going to come on at noon. Then we've got Kentucky at Ole Miss. This is going to be another good game. And unfortunately, we're going to be switching between this game and quite a few other games here at the lunchtime hour. Even though Kentucky has looked very good this season, Ole Miss has kind of been flying under the radar for the most part. A lot of people don't realize how good Ole Miss is this year. They are absolutely just gobsmacking people. 59-3, 42-0 against Georgia Tech. Now, they didn't do that great against Tulsa. They did okay against Troy. But they really have a powerful offense here. I want to see what Kentucky can do against it. Now, Kentucky has looked really good all season. Kind of their signature win, I guess you would say, would come over Florida. Their other teams have been like group of 5 schools, not great schools. And even though they're 4-0, they go up against that high-powered or can be high-powered offense over at Ole Miss. Kentucky is ranked 7th. Ole Miss is 14th. The matchup predictor has this game at almost 80% for Ole Miss. I think it's going to be a really close game. Now they've got Ole Miss favored by 7. Now, if you get home field advantage, they typically give you about 3 points. I don't know how many people they're going to be able to get up to show up to this game. I think it'll be a good crowd. I don't know that it'll be sold out, but this will be a good crowd. But I think Ole Miss's offense might be the key ingredient here, and their defense has shown times. I'm going to have to go with Ole Miss on this game. I just think that they've got a much better offense, and I don't think that Kentucky is going to be able to contain it. Looking over across the channels here, another game you may not be seeing a lot of talk about, but the Oklahoma versus TCU game. In the Oklahoma versus TCU game, Oklahoma really expected them to do better than they've done. Now, Oklahoma is a 7-point favorite. Oklahoma has, they did do a really good job against UTEP and Kent State. They did 33 points against Kent State. Georgia did 39. Kent only scored 3 points against them. So their last game against Kansas State was really weird to watch that game. They didn't look prepared. They looked just kind of awestruck the whole game. That running back, what's his name, Deuce Vaughn? Man, it just all over the place. I'm really curious to see how TCU is going to stack up here. Their defense has done really well for the most part of the season. They haven't had a game where they've scored under 38 points. I think this game's going to be closer than what people realize. I would not be surprised if TCU hangs in there with Oklahoma and gets the win, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Oklahoma blows them out. These are two teams right now that we just don't know what they're going to do. Oklahoma's favored by 6, but there is no way I would bet this game. If I was going to bet the game, I would probably take TCU in the points, but that's just me. Minnesota versus Purdue. Minnesota's kind of been flying under the radar as well. Looking at this game, Minnesota's favored by 12 points. Minnesota has looked extremely dominant. Nobody has scored more than 10 points on them in a game all season. Purdue's lost 2 games. So Minnesota, I think, is better than their 21st ranking. I'd probably put them in the top 15. They should blow the Boilermakers out. This should be a 35-3 or 35-7 game. We'll see what happens here. But yeah, but that's just my opinion on that one. All right, let's get back over here to Kansas State versus Texas Tech. Kansas State coming off of a big win over Oklahoma, and Texas Tech coming off of a big win, at least in their opinion, from over Texas. And all of my notes just dumped out. I'm gonna have to see if I can bring it back. There we go. I got them back. Okay, now it's just got to load. The Texas Tech versus Kansas State game. I think this is going to be a really good game. I think Kansas State is super hyped up for this game. I think they want to win this game. Kansas State really wants to win this game. But I'm really curious as to Texas Tech's mentality after taking down Texas. Kansas State beats number 6 OU. Texas Tech beats number 22 Texas, which I don't know if they should be ranked 22, but whatever. This is going to be a really, really good game. Both of these games, I think, are pretty evenly matched. I think Adrian Martinez looked really good in the Oklahoma game. And I think the quarterback over at Texas Tech, what's his name? Smith, I think he did really good there. He's balling out. I think he's over 1,000 yards for the season. So, pretty high-powered offense here. Texas Tech more through the air. Kansas State just kind of get yards anywhere you can. So it's going to be a really interesting game. I can't wait to see how this game plays out. So good game to keep an eye on. If I had to pick somebody in this game, I'd probably pick Kansas State. Looking forward here, I think that's about it for the noon games. Of course, everybody wants to talk about the Alabama-Arkansas game. So Alabama-Arkansas, guys, I got to be 100% honest with you here. This could be an upset of the day right here. I'm not even joking. Arkansas, coached by Sam Pittman, has done very well. Since he's got there, he's really turned that program around. Now they did take a very close, heartbreaking loss. Texas A&M football hits top of the field goal. If you hadn't heard about it by now, you've pretty much been living under a rock. This is a team that has played extremely well. They have played very well. It kind of all depends on what Alabama team we're going to get. I mean, it's kind of common knowledge at this point that Alabama doesn't do as well on the road as they do at home. This is at Arkansas, and you can 100% believe this stadium is going to be sold out. They are absolutely going to be slam jammed, live, loud noise. Arkansas wants to win this game. The fan base wants to win this game. I would not be surprised if they keep this game either very, very close or they end up winning this game. Now, Alabama's favored by 17, which is not the traditional 40 points that you see an Alabama team favored by. It being at Arkansas, they get 3 points. So they're trying to, realistically, they think Alabama's going to win by 20. I don't know. Alabama has a lot more talent over there. They have a much better coaching staff all around. They're much deeper at Alabama, but Sam Pittman just doesn't seem to care about any of that, man. His Hogs show up and they get after it. I'm really interested to watch this game. Alabama by 17. I don't know that I would take that bet. I think that if I was going to bet this game, I would probably pick Arkansas, but give me the 17. I think it's going to be closer than what most people realize. And I think this may be kind of an upset week for a lot of teams. So not Georgia though. So Alabama versus Arkansas. I'm actually going to take the Hogs in this one. I know I'm going to get some grief, but I'm taking the Hogs plus the 17. So we can fight about it later if you like. All right, so let's jump down a little further here. Ohio State versus Rutgers. This game will be a blowout by half, if not the first quarter. But then at the same time, you've got Baylor versus Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is another team that's kind of been, I won't say flying under the radar, but this is a really, really good football team. Their quarterback's got almost 1,000 yards already. They run the ball well. They throw the ball well. They play pretty good defense. They started out a little rocky. Keep in mind, this same Oklahoma State team is the team that beat number 5 Notre Dame at a New Year's Six bowl game last year. Now, there's a little bit of a revenge factor here because the last loss they took was to Baylor. Baylor is beatable. Baylor almost lost, in my opinion, to Iowa State. They only won that by one score. Oklahoma State has beat every opponent they've had this year by more than one score. And the last game they played was 63-7. Their defense just seems to be firing on all cylinders. I don't know how Baylor's going to deal with that. This is going to be a close game. Baylor's favored by 2.5, but it's at Baylor. I'm going to take the Oklahoma State Cowboys here just to win it outright. So it's going to be a good game, but it's going to be a lot of close games, I think. But I think Oklahoma State wins this game. Okay, Penn State versus Northwestern. Nothing interesting here. Florida State versus Wake Forest. By the way, Penn State will win that game by a mile. Florida State versus Wake Forest. Now, if you've been waiting for a good game, they put all these good games for the day for the most part at the same time. So Wake Forest loses in double overtime to Clemson, just barely. This is a really good Wake Forest team. Florida State has come out of nowhere. Florida State has been playing the best football that's probably played in 10 or 15 years. Florida State fans are excited and should be. The quarterback, Jefferson, no, not Jefferson, Travis. I'm getting him confused with the guy over in Arkansas. This guy's pretty solid. I just don't know if he's as good as Hartman at Wake Forest, though. This is kind of a matchup of two teams. The Seminoles are 4-0. Wake Forest is 3-1, but their only loss is to Clemson in double overtime. They are scoring 45 points a game no matter what. Florida State they seem to be getting better and better every week. They did beat an LSU week 1, but it was week 1. They beat Louisville, and then they beat Boston College. Florida State has a good football team, but I really think that this Wake Forest team is going to be able to take the win here. I'm taking Wake Forest. I know Florida State's favored by 6.5, but I'm taking Florida. I'm taking Wake Forest. Sorry guys, it is what it is. Let me see here. What else we got? Get me back to my page. I can't remember all this stuff. I have to write it down, and then if I write it down, I lose the notes. So I just keep it up on the webpage. Another good game to watch, maybe this the Mississippi State versus Texas A&M game. Man, this is Mississippi State's actually favored in this game. Unranked Mississippi State is favored by 4 points at home. This game should be sold out because the tickets are only like $10. If you're a Texas A&M fan and you get a chance to go to this game, I would go to this game. Mississippi State Mississippi State lost to LSU, but then they beat BGSU last week. Both of these teams, I just don't understand this. Texas A&M can't seem to find an offense. Mississippi State's kind of all over the board. Texas A&M's kind of all over the board. Both of these guys' quarterbacks are just so insanely different. Mississippi State's quarterback, Rutgers, this is like 1,400 passing yards, 16 touchdowns. Okay, he is slinging the ball all over the place. And I guess the thought process is that what can Texas A&M do to stop that offense? I don't know. Part of me wants to take Texas A&M. Part of me wants to take Mississippi State. I think that win last week against Arkansas was a pretty hard-fought game. I don't know how tired they're going to be after that game. Mississippi State was swapping out guys left and right by the end of that game, so I think they're going to be pretty rested. I know Mississippi State's unranked, but guys, I'm going to take Mississippi State. I know this just seems like a weird week. I know people like to pick the favorites, but to me, after watching this team and how they throw the ball around, they run the ball really well as well. They got a running back over there, Johnson. It's like 36 carries for like 240 yards. I mean, the guy's really, really good. I think Mississippi State's offense is just going to be too much for Texas A&M, and so I'm going to take Mississippi State. I can't believe I'm taking all these teams like I'm taking them. And then I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up. Oh, the LSU Auburn game comes on at 7. LSU should win this game, but who knows? Cincinnati versus Tulsa. Give me Cincinnati. Should win by 2 touchdowns. And then the Clemson versus North Carolina State. Guys, if you're going to watch a game in the evening and you're not watching the Georgia game, I'm going to be watching this game and the Texas versus West Virginia and the Clemson versus North Carolina State game. So this Clemson versus North Carolina State, guys, I'm taking North Carolina State all the way on this game. North Carolina State defense has looked really good. Clemson basically had to dig itself out of a hole against that Wake Forest game. They had to play double overtime. This team's going to be tired. They've allowed teams with lesser offenses. Louisiana Tech scored 20 points. Now, granted, Clemson has been doing a really good job in passing the ball around. But I think the quarterback, Leary, over at North Carolina State is just as good as Ucla. I think Clemson might have a better running back in Shipley, but I think it's close. This is a pretty even matchup. Clemson's favored by less than a touchdown at home, so that should always concern you. I think North Carolina State's been on a roll. Their offense looks really good, and their defense looks really good. I'm going to take North Carolina State. I think North Carolina State wins this late in the fourth quarter, or they hold on to survive it. But I think it's going to be a kind of a close game. I think North Carolina State wins it, though. Okay, and then let's see. Texas versus West Virginia. Man, this is going to be a good game, too. So, Texas versus West Virginia. You've got Texas favored at home by 9.5 points. West Virginia only has a 15% chance of winning this game, according to the matchup predictor. But I got to be honest with you. It's not West Virginia's offense that's a problem. It's West Virginia's defense. Texas always seems to play down to its opponents. Both of these teams are 2-2, 0-1 in conference. This is going to be a good game. JT Daniels, former 5-star quarterback for UGA, who's pretty much played at every college in the country at this point. He's at about 1,000 yards. He has 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Their running back at West Virginia, Donaldson, 52 carries for almost 400 yards. Pretty good. Bijan Robinson, 67 carries for 414 yards. This guy may be the best in the country, but keep in mind he has 15 more carries than the running back Donaldson, but he only has 34 more yards. That's only a difference of 2 yards a carry. Statistically speaking, if Donaldson had 15 more carries, he would have more yards than Robinson. So their running back is really, really good, but they ain't played nobody. I get it. Texas hung in there really close with Alabama, bragging on a loss. Lost in overtime to Texas Tech, a team that should have beat by a ton. I think West Virginia is going to win this game. A lot of Texas fans, I'm sorry. Until I see more from you guys, I just can't. I can't buy into it. West Virginia got off to a sloppy start. They lost to Pitt, but played them close. They lost to KU in overtime, so it was tied at the end of the game, so it was close. They beat TOW by, 58 points or something, and then they beat Virginia Tech by 20-plus points. The only game that Texas has done that this year was in their season opener and then against Ucla, and both of those teams are terrible. I'm going to take West Virginia. I think I'm taking every upset I can take this week. I don't know why, but it just seems that's the way it goes. West Virginia looks really good. I think JT Daniels is starting to get a little bit settled. We'll kind of see how it goes from there. But, again, I'm taking West Virginia. All right, where's my numbers at? Where do we go? No need to talk about the Pittsburgh-Georgia Tech game. Pitt ought to win that game. USC versus Arizona State. USC, of course. Oregon versus Stanford. Now that game comes on 11 o'clock. So if you just don't have anything to do, you can watch this game. Oregon should absolutely dominate these guys. Oregon, with that exception to Washington State, that was a close game. They've dominated everybody they played. Now they did lose to Georgia, but their offense is just firing on all cylinders. Hats off to Bo Nix. Man, he's at 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's looked really good. 3 interceptions. I think 2 of those came in the Georgia game. So if you take those two off the board and say, okay, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, that's a really, really good quarterback. Thank God he got away from Auburn. He's getting a chance to showcase his skills so he can go pro. Bo Nix should go pro. He won't go first round, but he should go pro. All right, now we got to get back to the Georgia. Most people that aren't Georgia fans have probably checked out by this point because I've already talked about your game. This is a 3:30. It's a 3:30 game, 7:30 game, 7:30 game. Yeah. So Georgia versus Missouri. This particular game right here, Georgia is favored by 29 points. Now Georgia was favored by 40 plus last week and didn't cover the spread. Georgia should cover the spread here. Missouri is absolutely terrible. They couldn't score. They had to score 17 points total in overtime against Auburn to win that game. K-State absolutely dominated them 40-12. They did win against ACU, which I don't even know what the name of that school is, and they did beat La Tech. But this team has pretty much fallen apart. Their quarterback has as many touchdowns as he does interceptions. That's going to be bad news. Missouri is not going to want to throw the ball against Georgia because Georgia's defensive backs and linebackers are just going to eat them alive. They're going to they're going to pick them apart. They got a pretty decent running back in Pete, but Georgia's going to stop the run. Hopefully this week, Georgia needs to get that buckled down. I don't see anybody on Missouri's defense that's going to have an answer for Brock Bowers or Darnell Washington or Oscar Delp. Can't say Eric Gilbert because I don't think he's with the team anymore. But Georgia is, averaging something like 42 points a game and only allowing 8. A shutout here would not surprise me. I'm not going to call a shutout, but it would not surprise me. Georgia's favored by 29 points on the road. Over-under is 54. Take the over. Georgia's going to score at will. Pretty much any way it wants to. Look for a big day out of Milton or whomever they're handing the ball off to. I would love to see Branson Robinson get in here and run that ball up and down the field. Stetson Bennett's over 1,200 yards on the season, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think he has 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns as well. He's going to have a heyday. Probably look for Carson Beck to be in the game by halfway through the third quarter. And Georgia's going to be resting up for its next opponents. Ferret Field or the Ferret Field, whatever you want to call it. I've been to the stadium, not a particularly nice stadium, not a particularly bad stadium, but I can tell you this stadium will be empty by halfway through the third quarter if it takes that long. You can get tickets to this game for as low as $22 right now. So Georgia's going to be just absolutely wearing Missouri out. So this will be a stat game for Georgia. Look for Stetson Bennett to put up some big numbers and some big yards, and Georgia should win by 30 easy. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it. I'm sure I'll think of something after the video I made that I wanted to add to the video, but forgot to do it. So do me a favor, hit that like, subscribe button if you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. Much appreciate you throwing a comment down below. What is your game of the day? What game do you think is going to be the one that you enjoy the most, and what do you think the scores are going to be to those games? Well, that's it for me, guys. I really appreciate you guys being here. Have a great day. God bless. Go Dogs.